Alright guys, another day, another Crisis Protocol mini. Today we're working on Baron Zemo. I think this is going to be an incredibly easy mini to paint. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with Screamer Pink. And we are just pretty much going to base coat his hands, his head, his chest, and yeah, that's it. So easy peasy. Alright, so while we're waiting for that magenta to dry, we went ahead and grabbed some Vallejo chocolate brown. And we're going to go ahead and use that to base coat his boots, as well as his coat. Now if you want to, you can even get the little collar thing here. It's up to you. I'm going to be using a mix to kind of highlight that. And I'm going to be using a different brown for the leather on the pants, just so we have a little bit of separation between the rest of that stuff. Alright, so next I went ahead and I took a little bit of that Screamer Pink from earlier. I mixed a little bit into the brown, added a teeny bit of red, and got us a little bit more of a kind of red brown. And we're going to use that for the pants. Now you can certainly grab just a different brown if you want, but I just wanted to use what I had on the palette already, which I haven't cleaned since the first video, so we've got quite a bit to choose from here. But this is an interesting way to kind of like not mess about too much and worry about different paints, especially where I probably won't use a color like this again. And where this model has a lot of brown, it's easier to just mix my own brown than to try and remember, oh well, you know, I used this brown, let's go ahead and use this brown next. If I'm mixing colors, I'm keeping the base tone the same, but I'm adding extra colors to it so the colors sort of work together themselves anyway. I got that kind of color unity thing going on where this brown is going to be present in all the other browns. I just realized he looks like he's missing a piece. So while this is drying, I'm going to go look and see if I kept all the pieces. I clipped off the runners. I'm going to see if I'm missing something from him. I'll be right back. Alright, but next we take a little bit of Baneblade Brown. We drop it in our palette. Miraculously, it doesn't touch any paint. And we're just going to paint the last couple of leather details. So we're going to grab these pouches. We're going to grab the belt. Actually, I don't love this color, so we're definitely going to be washing over this, but that's okay. So if you just want to use a darker brown, or if you like this shade of brown, do your thing. I'm going to definitely be going over this. And what I will do with this while we're here is this isn't a terrible like highlight color. So I'm going to grab some more brown. I feel like I said that I mixed this, but yeah, this is Baneblade Brown mixed with the original brown. So I'm going to just grab a little bit more of that original brown. We're just going to grab the tops of the folds on the coat. Grab the shoulders. Stuff like that. You don't have to be super duper neat here. And this will get kind of washed back down a little bit. that'll work for that. Now, as for the belt itself, I'm going to touch up the pants. I hit the pants a little bit when I was doing this. And we're just going to give everything kind of like an all-over unifying wash to make sure that all the colors kind of have that separation that they need. But we do have one more color I want to use, and I'm going to use that Baneblade Brown as a base for it. I'm going to take some Mummy's Robes, and we're going to mix that. I'm actually just going to drop it right into that color. We're going to lighten that up a lot. It's going to be like a, I'm going for like a light tan brown kind of color, and that's going to be for all the padding on the inside of the jacket, and then like the sleeves and the collar and all that stuff. So you know, like this big part right here is just going to be that color. And this is very much going to be one of those minis that like you paint all the colors in and then you hit it with a wash and boom, he's basically done. Obviously there's going to be a little bit more work than that, but for the most part, this is probably the easiest mini I've seen in the box so far. And it also doesn't help that I don't know who he is, so I don't really care too much about how he looks. This is one of the I'm just trying to get him done minis. So another thing here is on the art in the card that he came with. His entire shirt is purple, but on the mini, sculpted in, he's definitely wearing like a deep V-neck or over top of his like superhero outfit. So I'm not really sure what color I want to do that immediately. I might actually just go ahead and do like black. I think that would look neat. Also, I'll be using a lot of black with the next mini, so that'll kind of get me where I need to be as far as that's concerned. But I'm also not trying to put myself in a corner too early on with either of these. So we'll I'm gonna sit on the idea for a little bit, and obviously you'll see what I end up coming up with. But I don't want to pick something that's gonna like detract too far from the rest of the colors on the mini either. So I think staying with a neutral tone, or maybe using, I don't know, I think that the neutral tone is definitely the best idea. Alrighty, so I went ahead, I ended up painting the shirt black. We used Corvus black for that. I skipped it because there really wasn't a whole lot of need to paint all of this on camera, especially considering it's a bunch of straps and a shirt. So next we're going to take a metal of our choice. I'm using Iron Hand Steel, but you can use Lead Belcher or whatever silver you like the most. We're going to base coat the sword. We're going to grab the belt buckle. I feel like there was something else I wanted to grab here. Oh, his taking a liberty here. I'm going to go ahead and paint the armor on his boots in metallic as well. On the art, they are like a leathery brown, and I just don't like it. So, despite the fact that I have no idea who this guy is, we are going to go ahead and make that change. I think otherwise I've done a decent job of making him recognizable. And now he's got like a little bit of pop to him, so I'm cool with that. Okay. So I'm not even going to make a cut for this next step. Or, well, yeah, I guess I should, because I need to let this paint dry. So ignore that. We are going to make a cut. I will be right back. And I almost forgot one other detail. I'm going to use Balthazar gold. You can use, again, whatever gold or whatever color you want. We're going to paint the hilt of the sword. Can't believe I almost missed that. And then I also realized I missed the handle, so that's going to be silver as well. So go ahead and grab that. There we go. Much better. Alright, everything is in place. So once this dries, we'll come back and we'll start washes. Alright, so before we walked off, I went ahead, I painted the base colors on the base, just so we can knock out a little bit more, a little bit faster. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take Agrex Earthshade, or a brown wash, whatever you want to do. That's Reikland Flesh Shade. There's what I want. And we are going to just real quickly pretty much wash the entire miniature. Now the biggest reason for this is we want that color separation, but I don't want this to be like a really heavy wash. The big thing I'm looking for here is like the texture on like these lighter elements. I want that texture to show, and then I want to create separation between when textures meet. That's really what I'm looking for here. So if you want to like pin wash this, go for it. This is also meant to kind of bring that leather color down a little bit. The one place I am going to go a little heavier is on the belt. I do want that to be a little bit heavier just because, you know, my color choice there was not the best. So now if you use the appropriate colors, unlike I did, you know, you shouldn't have too much problem with this. And the best part of this is with the way this mini came together, the way it was painted, you really could just pick out a few of the highlights, like kind of bring a couple colors back to the way they were supposed to look and be done with it. There's not a whole lot of extra work to be done here, which I am a big fan of. I do like the idea of pushing a mini to a certain level, washing things down a little bit, and just being able to take your hands off of it. So if nothing else, his color scheme has been that. But me being me, I'm going to do just a tiny bit more. Just because I do want him to kind of at least sit at the same standard as some of the other minis in the box. Again, even though I don't know who this guy even is, but he deserves a fair shake. Alright, so I think that's pretty good. I'm content with the way that looks. So we're going to kind of kill two birds with one stone here. I'm going to go ahead and do the base the same way we've been doing the base. You know, just a lot of stippling. I'm going to kind of wash a little bit heavier on the rocks here. But just a lot of stippling this wash around to create that kind of dirt texture and the modeling effect and all that. If you want to trace the lines in the street or cracks or anything like that, it's not a bad idea. Alright, so I'm going to let this dry. We're going to come back and we're going to kind of do something similar with some sepia wash. Just because I want a little bit of an extra tone in some of this. So we'll be back. Okay, so our wash is not 100% dry. It's most of the way there. But what we're going to do is we're just going to grab a small bit of yellow and we're going to add our yellow details while we're waiting for that to finish up. Ooh, so here on the head, he's got this big crest on his forehead. We're just going to grab that. It's also on the sides of his head. and then it runs around. It's like a little circlet. So for that, we're gonna keep that yellow on the brush. We're just gonna kind of get down to a fine point, get rid of any of the excess, and just real carefully kind of grab that. All right, now, if the wash is still drying, like towards the bottom and stuff, one of the things you can do to kind of help with the weight, I'm going to spin my palette over here. I'm going to grab this Screamer Pink, and we're just going to kind of reintroduce that to some of the higher points. So treat it like painting any other face. Just kind of fix some of these details, work around the recesses. Just little highlights. You don't have to go too crazy here, but I like where that wash kind of took over here in between those two spots. Pick out highlights on the hands. Important stuff. Don't go too crazy. Don't lose any sleep over this, but just kind of bring some of these highlights back. Alright, then we're going to go ahead and grab that brown, and we're just going to real carefully just kind of glaze that onto the bottom of that yellow like we've been doing this whole time. But just on the big sections, don't worry too much about the little circlet part. That would take an eternity. You could do it if you wanted to, but I don't think it's a good idea. I'm not going to waste my time doing it, but just to kind of give you a little bit of transition in that brown color or in the yellow, to make it so it doesn't stand out so much. There we go. Now, besides one other minor detail, you could definitely call this guy done. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to show you that last little detail. We're going to grab a little bit of that white from before. And I'm just going to paint in his eyes. Now if you need to tidy that up, just go to your other colors and kind of work that around until you get it somewhere in the middle of where you want it. Again, as long as it looks good from, you know, this far away, it shouldn't be a big deal. But if you want a higher standard, obviously you're going to want to spend a little more time. So I'm content with that. So I'm going to let these washes finish drying, and then we'll go through some final steps and wrap this guy up. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and take Mummy's Rose, and I'm just going to, not dry brush, but almost like a dry brush, I'm going to just kind of tap this along this. We're going to do, it's like stippling, but not really. I don't really know how to describe it. Just any of these textured patterns, so around the hands and the arms, and then around the neck. Be a little bit more careful around there because you don't want to accidentally hit the head. But we're just going to kind of add this texture in. and then we'll knock it back down. Alright, so the last thing I do before I do this last little bit of wash is I took a little bit of Talon sand. I'm going to go back to that chocolate brown, and you can see just how little Talon sand there is. It's honestly, it's kind of watery, but we're just going to mix these together. I'd say maybe it's 2 to 3 parts chocolate brown to the Talon sand. Actually, I think we need a little bit more of that, if I'm being entirely honest with myself. I'll grab it from up here, because I want to make that initial brown but a little bit lighter, and I don't want to sacrifice the warmth, I guess. So there we go. We're gonna make like a highlight color. That's what we're going for here for our leather. So we've already painted the leather, we've darkened the leather down. So now what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the leather, and then we're going to knock it back down again. So this isn't going to be like a traditional highlight in the sense that we're going to go through and we're going to pick all the edges out and stuff like that. What I want to do is I want to simulate wear on the leather. So I'm going to take most of this off, and I'm just going to kind of stipple highlight along some of these edges here, where we've already highlighted, and then places where there would be a lot of wear anyway. So we'll start with the back, because anytime you walk, anytime he moves, this jacket is going to flex a little bit, and that's going to eventually, over time, create wear on the leather. The next spot would probably be like around the arms and the elbows, the shoulders. Just a little bit of stipple around those areas. And then I think the most wear would be like in the kind of like the ditch of the elbow, because that's where the most folding is happening. And then just a little bit around the front. Now, there's a ton of space to do this anyway, but a little bit here and there, just so that everything looks nice and uniform. Then we're going to grab that little bit of red like we did last time. Where'd I put that color? I guess that was this one. Nope. I lost it. Oh, it's right here. A little bit of red in there. And now it's a highlight for the pants. And we do the same thing. So again, knock a lot of this color off of here. For this, we're going to work heavy around like the knees, the folds on the sides of the pants, up here, near where the pockets and stuff would be. Again, if all you do is pick out the wrinkles and the highlights there, you'll be fine. But you know, push this as far as you want. And I'm not too worried about the belt and the pouches and stuff like that. That stuff's not like crazy. It doesn't really like stand out or anything. So it shouldn't be a huge deal. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll come back, put some finishing touches. Alright, so sepia wash. We're going to grab pretty much the entire jacket, the pants, and what that's going to do is take those two colors, it's going to tie them all together, and it's going to make those final highlights we did look like they are leather colored. And it really kind of helps sell that worn leather effect, at least to me. Now once you've base coated the jacket with this wash, I'm going to pull some up and just kind of grab these highlights around this little fur area here, and that's going to kind of knock that down just a little bit so it's not so bold. Because I want this to be warm, but I don't want it to be like the same color as the jacket, if that makes sense. So that's why we went ahead and did this extra color. There we go. That looks good. And if there's too much, just go ahead and knock it down. Move it around. Pick it up with your brush. And then we're going to do the same thing with the pants. So, again, just pull that more into that brown territory. Now, I think the reds in here are still going to show, but they will be, you're going to slowly be pulling this more towards the jacket color, but it will still stand on its own, I think. There you go. And then the last thing to do is to stipple this onto the base and then do our dry brushing. If you want to, I don't think I'm going to. If you want to, you can kind of retouch up the sword, make it look a little more shiny. I think I'm going to leave it the way it is. I like the way it looks. But there you go. So pretty straightforward, very simple to do. I think, so far at least, this was the easiest mini in the box. I don't think there's going to be anything else that's this easy, per se. I think Ultron's going to be easy, but I'm going to have to do a bunch of other stuff to make him look cool the way I want him to. And I think the next mini I do won't be that difficult either. So, Sword Dude, done. So now we've got Not Bane. I can get you his actual name. And I'm pretty confident that he will be the next one I paint. So this is Crossbones. So we're going to go ahead and we'll come back with a clean palette. I used a little bit more of the palette than I thought I would. So we'll clean the palette up. We'll come back. But this is Baron Zemo. I'm quite pleased with the way this looks. Stay tuned for some pictures. And we'll see you with the next one. Later.